giant protests over the weekend in Egypt. I mean, they're so large, I'm literally in disbelief. I don't disbelieve that there's 500,000 protesters in Cairo and 500,000 in Alexandria. That's in all the stories. But there's one report out that there was 14 million protesters throughout Egypt. That number is so gigantic, it's just unimaginable. There's only 84 million people in Egypt to begin with. To have 14 million protesters, it would literally make it probably the largest protest in human history. So that's amazing. They're obviously protesting Mohammed Morsi's government, the Muslim Brotherhood. Some unfortunate numbers. 7 people were shot dead in clashes, and 613 people were wounded in street fighting. And then in Monday morning, we had even more clashes, and another 6 people at least taken to the hospital. And then we had 43 women who, including a foreign journalist, who suffered from what they described as organized sexual assaults. So there's a lot of madness in the streets. But what's interesting and encouraging is the reaction of the police and the military. So as, yes, some of that is happening, and we've got Muslim Brotherhood, reacting badly in some of the cases, obviously. On the other hand, by the way, the Muslim Brotherhood's headquarters has been attacked and firebombed. Meanwhile, the police are basically folding up their arms and saying, sad day. They're not even helping the Muslim Brotherhood, which is in charge of Egypt, protect their own headquarters. That's amazing. And now partly the police are saying, hey, listen, we're Egyptians too, and we're not happy with how things are going. And partly they're saying, hey, listen, the last time people were in the streets in Egypt, we got blamed for all this, so we're not going to get blamed again. And then when you go to the military reaction, well, 2 things happen. First of all, they did this amazing thing where they flew helicopters. In fact, here, let's show it. That's the Egyptian military. They've got Egyptian flags, and on top of that, they're dropping Egyptian flags into the crowd. That's really cool. And then, if that weren't enough, well, they took the ultimate step. Let me skip ahead to here to graphic 4 and read you part of their statement. They say the military will be obliged by its patriotic and historic responsibilities and by its respect for the demands of the great Egyptian people to announce a roadmap for the future and steps for overseeing its implementation with participation of all patriotic and sincere parties and movements. Let me break it down for you. As part of that letter, they gave a 48-hour ultimatum to Morsi. Either get the country under control or we will, and you're out. Now, Morsi's not going to get the whole country under control in 48 hours, and the military knows that. Basically, the demands of the protesters are that in the beginning it was, not just dialogue, but parliamentary elections. I'll get to that complaint in a second because it's critical. Now they're saying presidential elections. Now, Morsi's the president. Yes, he was elected, but he has taken action since then that makes people question his loyalty to democracy. So they're saying we need new presidential elections. And basically, the army's ultimatum is saying, if you don't agree to presidential elections in 48 hours, well, you're no longer going to be in government. So this huge protest apparently having very significant results. I've even seen signs in Arabic and in English saying game over. Now, it's not over yet, but it is amazing how quickly this wound up having results. Now, why are people so upset? Well, there's 2 reasons for it. One is political. After Morsi got into government, all of a sudden they started messing with the Constitution and changing it so that it would help the Islamists and Muslim Brotherhood maintain power and Morsi to remain in power even longer. Well, okay, it's one thing to win a democratic election, but then you change the Constitution afterwards, people get rightfully concerned. Second of all, we don't even have a parliament in Egypt right now. So they should have the parliamentary elections and fair ones and conducted them right a long time ago. But it happens to be convenient for Morsi that his power is unchallenged by a parliament. So it's one thing to win democratic elections. I'm very much in favor of that, and that's how you should proceed, obviously, right? It's another thing that after you win the elections, all of a sudden, oh, look at that, conveniently, the Constitution has changed, the parliament is gone, and by the way, here are my new rules that are far more heavily Islamist than what I advertised before. Well, that's when people get concerned that you're killing democracy. And that's when all of a sudden you should get concerned about whether you should hold power. And it looks like you might not hold it for long. Now the second reason is, and let's keep it real here, economic reasons, and what's happening on the ground. The liberals were unhappy with Morsi to begin with. Everybody knows that. There was a lot of groups that were unhappy with Morsi. Now all of Egypt is unhappy, partly because inflation is rampant, fuel supplies are running short, so there's huge lines to get gas, among other fuel issues, power cuts that are gigantic and now lengthening in the summer heat. The garbage isn't being picked up. I mean, the government is an absolute mess. So you have both the political and the economic realities, and the reality that Morsi has in fact lost the country. And if in 48 hours he doesn't agree to presidential elections, apparently he's lost the government as well.